Hi, I'm Ozzy. I'm a local Unite rep. I live in Romsey Town. I'm here on Montreal Square. They're having a sort of party protesty thing regarding the campaign to save these houses from demolition by Cambridge Housing Society. As you probably know, Cambridge Housing Society wants to knock down these 20 odd houses around the square and basically demolish them and pave over this village green, they call it, where kids are playing football loudly. Thanks, kids. And build rabbit hutch-sized houses, which they claim are new and improved, but we believe are just not comparable to what's currently here. And destroy a very good local community. Community glue. That's what it's all about today, really, isn't it? Community glue. Oh yeah, the need for affordable housing in Cambridge is massive. It's like we need to build vast numbers of council houses, social housing at social rent. But that's not at the excuse of existing council social housing with a pre-existing community and green spaces. There are plenty of other places to build in Cambridge, and what they're building at the moment is the wrong thing, for example. If you look next to the mosque site on Mill Road, they've built what they call the Student Forge, which is an overpriced apart hotel come student accommodation, which no student on a grant or basic student funding can ever afford to live in. It's like the amount of development in Cambridge is massive, but it's all the wrong development. We need council housing.
But the Cambridge Housing Society didn't own that land, they own this land, and they're saying this is the only land they can afford to redevelop.
I say they're wrong.
You say that it's not the only land that they've got that they could do.
I say if they need to buy other land, there's other land in Cambridge available they could build houses on. And the government should actually provide land to the housing societies to build houses, rather than sell it off to private developers to build the wrong kind of housing.
Why is this whole process taking such a long time to resolve itself? Do you know?
Got no idea. I mean, this is really important to understand. This is nothing to do with the City Council. This is Cambridge Housing Society Association, and so we're just almost innocent bystanders in all of this. We clearly have influence to bring to bear, and we are doing that. But as for making this decision will be made by the Housing Association. When it gets to planning, then the planning committee will deal with it if it comes through. But from what I've seen that people have been doing here, such a splendid effort, such a wonderful sense of community. They're making their argument four square, and that people will have to listen. This is not an impossible thing to win, and I think that the likelihood increases by every signature they get from people in Romsey. The likelihood of this never being developed or not being developed in the foreseeable future becomes greater. There's big guns working on this sort of thing. The argument's right, the people are right. It's just that there is a pressure for housing, and so that's the conflict, but not a conflict in our minds anymore. I think everybody I know is now totally convinced that this has got to be preserved.
Well, good. Let's hope Cambridge Housing Society sees sense then and abandon this project completely in the very near future.
Well, I would expect that they're on that way. I can't see how they can go up against the public in the way that they would have to, because this fight's only just begun. If the people here were working against an established project, then the momentum would get bigger and bigger. There'd be more involvement from more people. I think that the Cambridge Housing Association Society just needs to get a grip of this and let it go, because it's not going to happen without a fight, and I'm sure they don't want to be dragged through a fight like this, because the momentum has been from here at the moment, and it will just get bigger if they come up with a plan that they really mean to knock these places down. Well, there's all manner of things that can be done, and I'm sure that there'll be more than just a nice visit to the square.
Oh, and the MP, I believe,
is on side, absolutely. Totally. I know I've spoken to Daniel about this several times and his team, and he's totally on board. So who's not to be on board? How could anybody resist the pressure that's going on here? How can anybody be against it? If suddenly there was a change of heart and everybody down here said they wanted to change it, then it would change. But there isn't. Everybody stayed solid, and so that's how it must stay. No argument. No argument.
A space where, down the many years, we've laughed, we've loved, we've shared our tears, and on the green, midst leafy trees, our children's laughter on the breeze, the seeds of love and bonds were sown, community was nurtured, grown, a place where people want to stay, a place they must not take away, the houses solid, safe and sound, the walls like people closely bound, a place where strength has seen us through and formed a firm and social glue, where women, strong through times of rain, have linked their arms to soothe the pain. Anne and Marty, Peggy, Mandy, Cheryl and her husband Andy, here dwell people real and true, the makers of the social glue, the first on scene to show they care for all their neighbours in the square. And all those neighbours won't be broken. Listen to the words being spoken. Social glue's what keeps us whole. They cannot bulldoze through our soul. They will not steal our homes and heart, nor tear our social glue apart.
Okay, well thank you very much for coming everybody, and I'd like to say a real big thank you to Richard's wife for the beautiful poem that she created for this square. It's fantastic. And a little message for Cambridge Housing Society: we ain't going anywhere.